Is 7 o'clock on July 8th, and I call this meeting of the regular Board of Trustees of Silverton to order. Pledge, I thank you. I'm just like all business.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. All right, it is 7:01 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please, Melina.
Robertson?
Here.
Trustee Gardner?
Here.
Here. Trustee Wakefield? Here. Trustee George?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harper?
Here.
Here. You. All right, do we have any staff or board revisions to the agenda?
I do. The first one is to remove 4B, the lead and copper self-certified water rate discount. We received some more information that we might want to just hold off on that for a minute before we give everyone a discount.
Thanks.
And then I also have a request to add a letter of support for the Phase 2 application to the Department of Energy Rural Communities Grant. I sent you all that this afternoon. And that would go under 5E in consent agenda. And then I also, I missed the utility committee meeting on the 25th on there, so.
Okay, so trustees, as we get to the consent agenda, if anybody had any questions or comments on that letter of support, we could raise them. But it was pretty straightforward. Okay, any trustee revisions to the agenda? Okay. All right, we'll now open it up for public comment. We'll proceed with taking public comment in person first. We will do 3 minutes. You could introduce yourself, say your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. So if you'd like to comment, anyone in the public, you're welcome to step up to the podium now. All right, seeing no in-person public comment, we'll close in-person public comment. Do we have anybody on Zoom who would like to make a public comment? If so, please raise your hand. We'll promote you to panelists and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing no Zoom public comment, we'll close public comment. All right, we don't have presentations and proclamations, so we're moving on to new business for a emergency management operation plan and wildfire management group. We have Jim Donovan here with us. Thanks, Jim.
All right, great. Well, thank you all for having me this evening. So this will be 2 topics, and as the mayor said, my name is Jim Donovan and I'm the emergency manager for San Juan County. And so this is really as much for the new trustees, is introducing you to the emergency operations plan and just how essentially disasters work in San Juan County, and how basically when disasters happen, we have basically an umbrella system within town and county. So that really came about with the Gold King mine spill, just to really simplify and streamline things so things don't get overly complicated in a very complicated situation. And so we'll talk about that. I think Gloria has already sent out a MOU that will go over and answer any questions. That also goes over in not too much detail, but enough detail on chain of command within town, the town staff, and then also within the trustees. So we'll go over that before our next topic, which is the formation of a wildfire risk management group, with also the endpoint of having a wildfire council, which will be a combination of county staff, county elected officials, and town staff, town elected officials, and also any community members. So it'll be a stakeholder-driven group, and I'll talk about that. So with that, have slides go. right in. Just to dive right into it, let's just talk about some of the lovely disasters that we've experienced in San Juan County. Hopefully nobody has any PTSD. Jim Harper, just look away at a couple of slides. But we, as a small county, we've actually experienced quite a few really big disasters. Just the Gold King mine spill, I had actually been hired as the emergency manager part-time just a few months prior to the Gold King mine spill. Zero training. Really, it was just kind of like, hey, here's the keys to the office, just figure it out. Good luck. And then kaboom, the sheriff calls on the radio saying, hey, we have a flash flood, blue sky day. And so what the heck is going on? So Gold King mine spill, just to give you an idea with disasters, that disaster happened, but to this day, the recovery process, which is still going on, recovery for disasters can happen years and years after. So we're actually still essentially dealing with the recovery process of the Gold King. So next slide, please. And 416 fire. Okay, Jim, look away. 416 fire in 2018. Although the 416 fire never got into the boundaries of San Juan County, it did have a lot of economic ramifications for our county. It did close down Highway 550, closed down basically the train, one of our main economic drivers for the summer economy. It had a lot of huge impacts for us, and we felt it. So we definitely felt it. We did do a disaster declaration both for this and also for the Gold King. So with that, it's just important to emphasize a disaster may occur, but it may not actually even get into the boundaries of the county. So next slide, please. So also just as an example, avalanche cycle in 2019. This was a massive avalanche cycle that closed both County Road 2 and County Road 110. We actually did not declare a disaster. I actually wish we did, but being San Juan County, being tough, we're like, we don't need to do this, but we really actually should have. You look at the scale and scope of this, it was truly immense. It took us, the county road crew just did an amazing job. They were still clearing debris well into the summer, getting the roads open, truly epic job. But it wasn't just county infrastructure that was impacted. It was Forest Service. You can still see debris. Elk Creek train experienced massive debris in the Animas River Canyon. So an example of you can still have a disaster, but a jurisdiction may not necessarily decide to declare a disaster. And you look back on it and you're like, why the heck didn't we? So next slide, please. And our favorite one, COVID pandemic, the one that just kept on giving. So really 2020 to 2023, just going to kind of bookmark those two dates. Just in a worldwide pandemic. We actually got through the pandemic really amazingly well. It definitely had social economic impacts. We definitely did a disaster declaration. We also did basically a health disaster declaration. So I was checking off all the boxes on everything I've done in my job of like, okay, every possible kind of declaration I could do. But this was, you know, it will go down in history as just one of those, like the influenza of after World War I, you know, which we still have records of in the old hospital. So it's just one of those that will really stay with San Juan County and Silverton just forever. Just to kind of emphasize, we also have a public health emergency plan. So the local emergency operations plan and the public health emergency plan work together. So I actually had both of those plans out and working, those were working side by side. Part of my job also is public health emergencies. So using both of those hats. Okay, next slide, please. And we can get disasters that occur at the same time. So we had COVID pandemic and the ice fire. And then I want to emphasize disasters and emergencies can happen at the same time. So the ice fire started with the evacuation of 28 hikers from ice lakes. That was a multi-agency evacuation, massive emergency. It involved all of our emergency services, search and rescue, EMS, sheriff, fire, Forest Service, BLM, air assets, getting 28 hikers airlifted out of ice lakes was an immense task that took, it was actually amazing how quickly all the services were able to work together and get the people out. But the fire just blew up. I mean, it was an amazingly fast-growing fire. We declared disaster quite quickly. We had a team from the Forest Service come up called an incident management team that essentially was able to come in, called a type 3 team that managed the incident. And they were able to bring in assets from the Forest Service and other federal agencies and just started to essentially wrangle the fire together. But with this fire, it was a late season fire. We actually brought them into this room because they still had to follow all the COVID regulations and be spread out. So even though it was a small team of about 10 people, this was the biggest room we had to get them all spread out. The town also was essentially very much kind of in between administrative personnel. So there were a lot of challenges just on the policy side of it. So just one of the things where chain of command was a little challenging for this one. But they did come to me and they were like, hey, Jim, you have an evacuation plan, right? And I'm like, yeah, we do. And you got to be kidding me, right? Ice fire is kind of far away. Late season. This is like late October. He's like, yeah, we have this program that predicts where the fire's going, and it could really, couple of days, it could get to Silverton. So, why don't you dust that off and we can help out. So, let's throw in an evacuation of the town while we're at it. So just to put more in it, let's potentially evacuate the town with a pandemic, with a fire. All right, why not? Let's just throw it all in there. Luckily, that didn't happen. We got a late season or early season storm, which luckily just put the fire out. But that's just the kind of fun stuff that we can have happen. Next slide. So the big thing is disasters are dynamic. Lots of agencies, lots of jurisdictions can get involved. This is just a scene from the 416 fire where you've got La Plata County Sheriff, you have multiple jurisdictions of BLM, Forest Service, you name it, our sheriff, myself, we're in Hermosa Creek Middle School. That was the incident command post. Everybody's getting together, just looking at a map saying, okay, life safety is number one, values at risk, and then basically other aspects we have to worry about. everybody gets in the same room, really just tries to hash out a plan as quickly and safely as possible. And then we all go back to our jurisdictions and make sure everybody is notified. That's the nuts and bolts of it. So that's just what you have to know that happens within the first few hours of any disaster. Okay, next slide. So what it boils down to is just having these documents and having these processes in place. And what this main process that we have and that all jurisdictions use throughout Colorado is an emergency operations plan. So this plan is basically what we will get out in a disaster or potential disaster. And this is our basically our guidebook. We're going to use this and step through all of the basically all of the checklists we need to do to make sure that we're hitting all the bullet points. And Office of Emergency Management really consists of myself and Deanne Gallegos. And Deanne did do a presentation on communications. And so she's our public information officer. And my role is really jack of all trades, so doing a lot of different things, but usually I'll end up in the agency administrator role. So I am really playing that go-between between basically state and federal agencies and our local agencies, and also our local political agencies. So best is if our trustees or county commissioners have questions, that they have a point of contact. And usually I'm the best person to come and ask questions. So that way, you know, you've got a focal point and somebody that you can come and talk to and communicate with. So that's how you can think about it. And I did just want to kind of tie in a little thing. This is a little bit of a divergence, but another big thing that we do are public alert and warnings. So the nixles that you get, myself and Deanne can send those out, and John Seitz. So the town does have the ability to send out nixles. John is trained up to do that. And so if we have 3 people to do it, so if I'm out, Deanne's out, John can always do it for us. So that's worked out really well. So disasters don't wait. They can happen at any time. So we have to have mechanisms in place to make fast and prudent decisions. They're not going to follow the clock. We might have to schedule meetings that are not at normal times and emergency meetings. So it's good to get a lawyer who represents town or county involved. Our county lawyer is very good at this. It's good to brief the town lawyer on this process. It's always good to have them present. And the emergency operations plan is a policy document, so it's important to always reference it. And it defines chain of command. So basically for county staff and county elected officials, and also town staff and town trustees. It's updated on a 3-year cycle. And so this year, I am working on the updates. So the current version that you see is the official version, and it has been already approved by the previous Board of Trustees and Mayor. So it's currently in effect. And each cycle, I do try to make it as readable and usable as possible. But this cycle, you all will have the opportunity to provide your feedback. So before I jump into basically the process of how a disaster declaration works, any questions up to this point? Excellent. Okay, I'll take that opportunity to just jump into basically what a disaster declaration looks like, and then we'll go from there. So it's actually a pretty simple process. We actually have several examples now, so we always look at those previous examples. And it's really essentially a meeting and a resulting document. You make sure that document states what basically has happened in the disaster. And the meeting follows all of the open meeting laws that Colorado has. And that's always important where your lawyer can provide any feedback. And also making sure that you've got the quorum is important. But basically what you're doing is you're stating to the state government that we may need help. You're not saying we absolutely need help, but you're saying we have used all of the resources we can. We've also reached out to our neighbors and asked them for resources. But we may need help. We may need financial help. We may need equipment. We may need all kinds of help. That's basically giving the state notice on that. And that's the first step in getting that help. So very important to basically get the ball rolling with that. So once you do that, it kind of opens the door with the state. Generally, the county has gone first in this process, but it doesn't have to be. The town can basically say, our sewer system has gone out. So we're going to declare a disaster. But with all of the disaster declarations we've done, county has gone first. It's really situational, just depending. The difference between a federal disaster and a state disaster is really the state basically rolls up a bunch of local disaster declarations and says to the feds, hey, we have a very serious problem and we need a federal disaster declaration. Then that opens up federal disaster money. So that is essentially getting a disaster declaration to the state as soon as possible is important, because if it's occurring like a wildfire is occurring locally and it's spreading out of a jurisdiction, getting that done as soon as possible is important. Any questions on that? All right. So that really ends the EOP portion. And now I'll just jump into the wildfire risk group. But before I jump into this, I do want to just see if there were any questions on the essentially chain of command, or basically the way the county and the town work together in a disaster process.
Let me back up and ask a question. Where's your office located?
My office is over in the old hospital. Yep. I have a desk over at the county that I'll use occasionally just across from the sheriff's office. Then our emergency operations center is based in the ambulance building. And that can be used by any agency. We'll use that for search and rescue operations. We were going to use that during the ice fire, but it was too small of a space for COVID guidelines.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thanks, Jim. I just had a question kind of about the activation of the EOP. Does it require a declaration of a disaster emergency for kind of that to be sort of activated, or do they operate independently?
No, they operate independently. So basically, the EOP it's basically opened up anytime I'm monitoring what incidents are going on. And if the incidents start to scale up, then I will monitor to see if they're getting to the point of like, oh, this is becoming a situation. So I will talk with all of our agencies and being like, hey, are you sensing that this is getting beyond what resources you can use.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's when you would kind of seek the support of town and county in making those declarations.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
I was just thinking from kind of a staff and onboarding perspective, like making sure that we could have this on the Google Drive. I mean, I know it's in our packet, but just the standalone plan and then the updated version. Just so it's easily accessible if people want to refer to it. And then maybe adding it to the trustee onboarding or like you're already doing when there's a new board seated.
Yep.
Bringing us all up to date is great. Yeah, so that I think would be kind of a procedural thing that'd be helpful.
Yep.
I have that noted.
Thanks.
And then, Ron, as far as your question goes to on office, also just kind of around a bunch. So if people ever have any questions, my phone number is my cell phone. So people can always give me a call if they have questions.
Great.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So with that done, that's perfect because it's just good to have that in place as a safety mechanism. So if which we're not going to have, we'll never have another, we're kind of done with disasters, right?
Your slides would.
Yeah. Everybody knows. But it's really, it's just now you all know the process. So if I come in here, pants on fire, hair on fire, like, we got to do a disaster declaration, you know what I'm talking about. So very easy.
Unfortunately, this town has had a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, and Willie Tukey has said this, you know, we have had actually a lot of experience going through this, but we actually have really, once again, knock on wood, we have experienced the kind of economic impact, but never like a hit on our infrastructure. The avalanche cycle was a big hit on the county infrastructure. But as far as what some communities have experienced, you know, nothing like that. So
Need to all go knock on the wood of the table that Mike Garriak built from the remnants of the original town hall. I think that's really where we'll just knock.
there we go.
Can I ask a quick question on process I just thought about? Sorry.
Yes.
So if we needed to declare anything, would that be like an emergency meeting? We wouldn't wait like 2 weeks for our next meeting. Great. Just.
That's what I mean by emergency. Like, it would be out of schedule. We may have a meeting tonight. You know, it could happen where, you know, tomorrow morning, like I could call up and wrangle everybody together. Yep. That type of emergency meeting.
Yeah.
So, yep, good question. Okay, all right. So now we're going to move on to the next one, and it's just basically creating a wildfire risk working group. We haven't quite created the full title of it, but the end state is a wildfire council, which is a little easier to digest. But that's our end goal. So we'll just have this wildfire risk working group right now. But this is a basically combined town county working and learning group with federal and state government entities, US Forest Service, BLM, Colorado State Forestry. And this is a project funded through COCO, which I'll go through a little bit later. Long-term, the endpoint is creating a wildfire council, which will also include community members. So folks from town of Silverton, and then any community members from San Juan County, especially including people from Cascade Village, because they live in a very high-risk area for a wildfire. So just to go over, San Juan County always used to be known as kind of the Teflon forest. Not so with climate change, various factors, not so much the way to look at it now. 416 fire, I think, changed people's perspectives. I think also ice fire really changed people's perspectives because that was a high elevation fire, late season. People were just like wildfire does not happen this time of year. And it's actually, yes, it does. And it can be quite rapid. So, those really change the perspective. And we do in Colorado, especially, it is wildfire, one of the biggest natural hazards we have to deal with. We also have a lot of new community members who may just not realize or, need some education just about wildfire. And with that, I think it's been something we've needed to do for a long time, but this year is really, I think, a good chance to get a good group together that could be a good long-term group. Also, this has happened throughout the West, but it has happened in Colorado in particular, is the insurance rates have just gone through the roof. It has been a big challenge. Some people in town have had issues with homeowners insurance, and people in Cascade Village have actually had really challenging time getting homeowners insurance. So those are just some things that a wildfire council could help address. At least get education, give people a place to go and find out information. So the Wildfire Council can also help identify within the county and the town on places to reduce. It's good to think of more fuels reduction and risk reduction with wildfire mitigation, because the forest type we have in our county is spruce fir, and it is not necessarily wildfire adapted. It basically burns at a catastrophic level, and it burns basically on a very long cycle, so up to 300 years. And so when it burns, it completely burns. And so it's a very destructive cycle. And I'll show you a couple of new tools that have come out, and these will be, we'll use these with local experts that we have, and we'll bring in some national experts to help us interpret these. Next slide, please. So here's the grant that we received, just basically a small starter grant. So it's with the Forest Service, and basically this project came about to help communities learn about and understand how to basically learn about wildfire mitigation and get the communities to really get educated. So they have a lot of different programs, but this one is just kind of a starter program that we received this year. So next slide, please. And this is from that wildfire risk website that the Forest Service developed, and it's free, open to the public. But San Juan County has a high risk of wildfire, and higher than 76% of counties in the US. And just to show you, this is the ice fire, and just to kind of give a picture of that alpine environment that we have, but then just the look of that fire, just where it's occurring. So it just gives you that idea. It's like, sometimes you think it's like, well, we don't really have that much forest, but we actually do. And if you look at aerial images of Silverton, there's enough forest around us to give us one heck of a wildfire. So that's why, we want to learn about this stuff. So next slide. And this is from that wildfire risk website. So this shows the entire county, and just this was just quick stuff I generated, just showing risk to homes. And this is all, it's a little, it's a little funny, just because really all of it is based on Silverton, because Silverton has the highest density of homes in the county. But it does calculate, we can look at cabins and make sure that cabin owners are within this education. But basically, Silverton does have high risk. Likelihood is medium, just the spruce fir forest. Risk reduction zones, very high. And then vulnerable populations, that's also very high, because evacuating out of Silverton is also going to be a very big challenge. We have just 2 evacuation access points. Thinking of trying to evacuate people out of our county roads, let's be realistic. That's going to be a challenge. So that's those are the kinds of things that we'll start learning about. So next slide, please. And really, this website is great, and hopefully everyone on the town board will kind of dive into this and use it, but it just really does give perspective from land use planning to more on the emergency preparedness side to the public health side. So smoke impacts to managing the forest. So it's really very useful. So next slide. And then also, this is the State Forest website, so it gives more details on basically fire intensity and burn probability. And you can see San Juan County right here, and then our friends La Plata County to the south. And we have pretty good on the fire intensity and burn probability, but our friends in La Plata County, it's through the roof. So they have some more challenges on that side. And we can learn from them because they do have a very robust wildfire community education program. So with that, next slide, please. And then this is just right from the Colorado State Forestry Atlas. So it shows all this green is the spruce fir. You can see San Juan County is right in the heart of it. And this is a direct quote from the Atlas, and shows that spruce fir forests are not fire adapted. So when we're thinking of this and talking with the land management agencies, and they'll be in total agreement, it's more about fuels reduction, whereas in La Plata County, they might have a different strategy, but up here, it's about risk reduction and fuels reduction. So part of our Wildfire Council, Wildfire Risk Working Group is identifying places in the town and county on where we should try to nudge our partners on where to do some of these projects. Next slide. So with this, right now we have 1 county commissioner, it's Pete Meisel, 1 county personnel, that's myself. Bevan has agreed from town. Fire department is Representative Clark Damron. So I do need 1 town trustee to join on. And then the latest edit and the eventual is to get a town or just a community representative on board. And all of us together will basically then engage with the state and fed agencies, get some good learning going on, and just do that stakeholder process, get a big map out, and just start saying, okay, BLM, where can we get you to do good risk reduction projects? Here's where it would help Silverton a lot. Here's where it would help Cascade Village a lot. And they have a lot of resources to do education for us. Let's plan then doing a good community-wide wildfire education event. So right now, that's basically the nucleus of the group. And initially we'll meet, we just have to get the group together, and then we'll start working out the meeting cycle, but at least well, I'm hoping at least on a quarterly basis, but if the group is very enthusiastic, we'll meet much more frequently. The feds, we'll just try to get them as much as possible. Like BLM is based in Gunnison, so I talked to the guy there, and this was before while the bridge was out. So getting him over here was going to be a little tricky, but he was very, very into it because he's like, hey, we have not been able to do really anything with San Juan County. But now that the bridge is open, he'll have a lot more flexibility. And same with Forest Service. They've wanted to do projects. They just haven't had essentially a community focal point. So with that, any questions, comments?
I do have some questions.
Yes.
I was advised the fire department is doing some wildfire type work. Not 100% sure what it is. Have you talked with them and does it
Yes.
overlap each other?
Yes, it will not. It's actually very complementary. So with what the fire department is doing is putting together a response team. And response is really a very different, essentially a very different lane. This is really focused on education and really risk reduction. So what we would hope to do, and really San Juan County is essentially 80% under 80% federal ownership. So we really need to engage the feds in getting these projects going. So the idea is get them engaged and say, hey, we also have a wildfire team that is developing. Could they do some of this mitigation so they can get the practice and the training? Happens all the time throughout the state of Colorado. So they may, as they're getting going, they may not do all of it themselves, but they may do it in partnership with a Forest Service team. So it'd be a cooperative setup. Clark, you want to add anything to that?
No, it's pretty close to it. I think there's as you said, there is a lot of overlap. I will say that a lot of this groundwork fundamental stuff we've already got going. We have a good relationship, especially with the state, but BLM Forest Service. So we're already developing, trying to get our SCPs in so that we can get some stuff going here pretty quick. But yeah, so the mitigation, we like to do most of the mitigation ourselves. It seems to be like, I think you've heard the same thing. They're happy to help and get everything going with that as far as the feds. I think everybody's on the same page and want to get some stuff rolling for sure.
Yep.
So, so we've got a lot of this groundwork going already.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah. So it's kind of two parallel lanes. So response is, that is a kind of a whole separate ballgame, but they can cooperate. Nice. So, so now it's basically who wants to throw their hat in the ring.
Do that if nobody wants to.
All right, nice. Okay. So, nice. I'll put your name in there. I'll get your email from Gloria. And I think, let's see. That was it. So that's all I got.
Amy and Tyler, I just want to make sure we haven't missed anything from you. Did you guys have any comments or questions? I know sometimes on Zoom, it's hard to make your voice heard, so feel free to jump in.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, no questions. I just wanted to say thank you for your presentation, Jim. I know, sorry, I'm a little sick. I know we've worked a lot together in the past years, especially during COVID, and we couldn't have done a lot of the work we did without you. So we really value your hard work and the Office of Emergency Management, Deanne, and just the collective Office of Emergency Management. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd echo that, Jim. I was, a note that I made reading through this and thinking back through your presentation is we really hit above our weight. And I think town of Silverton does that in so many ways, the county, of San Juan as well. And so I just think, appreciate the capacity in this community and recognizing that disasters by necessity often kind of rob other capacity that could be happening to make other things happen, but just recognizing the many things we've had happen in this community. And to your point, thankfully, we haven't had significant loss of life with these, which is really huge. So I appreciate all the efforts to get us up to speed and the continuity that you provide in having had your brain and mind involved in all of these incidents. Thanks for updating us. It's
Awesome.
helpful.
Great, well, thanks.
And there are two motions in your packet, so that it's officially on record. If anyone would like to, you can combine the motions too if you'd like.
And that's on page 8.
I have a couple of
Thank
questions
you.
first.
Yeah, go
We
for it.
split the financial obligation with the county 50/50 on this, is that correct?
Thank you, guys. for-
OPM?
For Office of Emergency Management, no, that's a little bit more complicated and I can answer that probably at another time when I have a lot of context to give you
All right,
on how we do that.
okay.
That is mostly funded through a tax.
And my next statement, I find it interesting. Under avalanche, he has the danger is increasing due to the increase in the use of backcountry. About 2 to 4 weeks ago, someone came in and said avalanche danger is decreasing because of our snow. Because they wanted to build a home. I just find it interesting that one says it's decreasing, the other says it's increasing.
Is that person said that because our snowpack is decreasing?
Yes,
I think we can actually refer to CAIC. They have a really interesting report on how it's actually unconclusive.
I understand that. I just find it interesting that one says it's increasing, the other is decreasing.
It's probably depending on the time of year.
Yeah, it's been summer, really. Summertime is not bad. You're okay?
Not bad, low risk. Yep.
You said?
Sorry, do we still need a motion?
Yes, so there's a motion on page 8.
And if you'd like to combine them, you can, so we can do one roll call.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the updated intergovernmental agreement for the reaffirmation of the unified emergency management between San Juan County and Town of Silverton, and to appoint Trustee Wakefield and the building and code enforcement officer to the wildfire risk management group.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Melina.
Trustee Halverson,
Yes.
trustee Gardner,
Yes.
trustee Schnicker,
Yes.
trustee Wakefield, trustee George,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Harper,
Yes.
Mayor Cranker.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. We're gonna move on now to 4. It's now B, the ADA Digital Accessibility Plan, because we were striking lead and copper self-certified water rates discount. So 4C ADA Accessibility Plan.
All right, and Melina, can you promote me to panelist? Sorry, I thought about this the last minute. So the state of Colorado passed legislation requiring local governments to come up with a digital accessibility plan and statement by July 1st, 2024. I'm a little late on getting this to you, but once this is adopted, we will be in compliance. I can also show you a feature we have on our website that's been helping us evaluate our current documents that we have. We purchased it for this year in anticipation of this legislation, but we'll be reevaluating it in future years to see if we still need it. It has been extremely helpful in finding, well, actually on a side mark, it has been really helpful in finding all our broken links. But it also has some cool features as well, which I'm going to show to you all while you all have questions, maybe. Maybe not. Melina, can you invite me to panelist again? Ah, there we are. All right. Share. But this one, okay, you guys are gonna see my Outlook real quick. Right. And share. All right, and as you guys can see right down here in the little corner here that I'm highlighting, discover your personal options. This gives you options on how you would like to see our website to help with the accessibility. There's fonts for if you are dyslexic. We do certain fonts for dyslexia. Cursor size, you can make the font size a lot bigger if you want. And it does save your settings, so when you come back to this website, it will be the same settings that you set it as. So I can really mess up the whole website if you want. But yeah, it kind of gives you all these options to go through at this point, so.
And this is the tool, this is the Moncito tool.
Yes, this is the Moncito tool referenced in your packet. So anyone can have that. We are planning on having it for a year to see if it's being used or not, honestly. And then if it's not being used, we'll probably not do that exit page. Oops. And then I broke it.
4,000.
And then this one. Let's see, so just a quick overview on the House bill. We need to put the statement up and a plan together. So we put this plan together and this would be on our town website as well, to show people that we are moving forward and trying to help people access our information.
Thanks. Any questions from the trustees? Looks great. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the Town of Silverton ADA Digital Accessibility Plan.
So moved.
Jim seconded. Melina. All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Halverson.
Yes.
Trustee Gardner.
Yes.
Trustee Schnittker.
Yes.
Trustee Wakefield.
Yes.
Trustee George.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harper.
Yes.
Mayor Krinker.
Yes. Thank you, staff, for working on that. I know that's one of the many things on your list. All right, moving on to number 5, the consent agenda, and just reminding everyone that we've added a letter of support for the second round of funding based off of our climate action plan. So were there any questions, comments, discussion on the consent agenda? I did have one question for Grady's contract. I like how it was all spelled out there. I guess I was just a little curious. The proposal we got doesn't kind of specify Grady as an independent contractor or business. And so have we confirmed with him that he's okay with the contract as worded? Because it's pretty specific and it has requirements around insurance and workers' comp and all that.
Yeah, and the one thing we are still waiting on is his LLC name.
Right.
So that's the one outstanding thing for that contract at this
Yeah, but
point.
he's-
We haven't been able, we just haven't been able to contact him for that portion of it, but he did assure us he has the proper insurance for it. But yeah, just waiting on the LLC.
Thank you. That was my question. Any other trustee questions on the consent agenda? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thanks, Tyler.
Second.
Ron seconded. Roll call, please, Melina.
Trustee Halverson.
Yes.
Trustee Gardner.
Yes.
Trustee Schnittker.
Yes.
Trustee Wakefield. Trustee George.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harper.
Yes.
Mayor Krinker.
Yes. Thanks. Okay. Moving on to staff reports, number 6.
Right. So I sent you all a note today for a doodle poll for our retreat in the fall. So this retreat will be a goal setting retreat and will help with our budgeting moving forward. And so if you all can fill that doodle poll out by next week. And I can coordinate with Patrick Rondinelli, who has offered to help out with that. And then the finance committee meeting will be rescheduled to the following Monday, July 22nd. And then we are also still seeking feedback on the new land use code draft that is available at silvertonluc.org. There's a new proposed zoning map on the site that we need community feedback on, and people can also visit town hall. And we have our information in the atrium there set up. So just trying to get more participation from the community on that. We will have more like in person with our consultants coming out, as well as some more upcoming stakeholder meetings. So stay tuned for all of that. But I know it's a hard time to get involved in the middle of summer. So we will be going into the fall as well, just to assure everyone.
So if folks want to come into town hall, can they get little sticky dots
Mhm.
with them? And are those, I can't remember, are those just out there or they get them from the clerk or?
I think they're just out there right now. Yeah.
Great. Silverton loves us some sticky dots to put on posters.
Yeah.
Shout out to Melina on the Alpine Marathon. I thought that was very noteworthy. Staff report, way to go. And the audit is getting, I mean, there's lots of things on here, but you guys are really kicking on the audit. It's not always celebrated and exciting, but it's super important and hard to get done on time. Okay, any other questions on staff reports? All right, moving on to committee and board reports. I think, as Gloria said, we had a utility committee meeting. Anybody want to update from that? Who's on that one? Ron?
It's kind of on hold now.
Yeah.
But we talked about checking the customers' water lines to make sure there's no lead
Uh-huh.
pipe. And then we discussed the customers maybe helping us do that to
Mhm.
alleviate some of the pressure on some of the employees from the town.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's where it sits right now.
Great.
You got anything to add, Jim?
It's a great memo there. Thanks. Okay, anything else from utility committee? Sounds like a monopoly card. All right, moving on to trustee reports. I just wanted to put a big shout out to the July 4th celebrations. Huge thank you to all the staff for their hard work and dedication of making it happen. A float this year was very fun. The many volunteers, I saw Jim up on my hillside putting stakes in. I saw Molly and Floyd taking them out, just all the work that goes into making it a safe, family-friendly event. The 4th of July Association, Patty Daly and all her work for the parade, Deanne in the chamber, Danny Castle was amazing with KSJC down in the park. Just all the work that goes into making it safe, family-friendly event. And on that note, I just really wanted to put a thanks out to the first responders who, while this family-friendly event is happening, are having to respond to the tragic incident on Snowden. So I think it's just a good reminder of how precious our time here is. And so just really wanted to thank those who handled that incident. Our condolences go out to the family and friends of the victim, and we're really reminded that our time kind of on this earth and in these mountains is really special and should be respected. That was my trustee update.
We did sell a record number of ducks for the Ducky Derby.
Right.
Ducks.
1,088.
Wow,
That eclipsed every year we've sold ducks.
way to go.
Yeah.
Jim, you were everywhere that day. Jim was everywhere. We bought 5 ducks and we did not win, but we were. And the whole entire Cranker family rode the bull, which was quite exciting.
How'd you do?
They were easy on me.
After riding in that truck, you know.
They were easy on me.
Town staff did a great job decorating the truck, getting all the candy. That was super fun to be a part of.
Great.
I had
Okay.
actually,
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
I had a thing that I wanted to bring up. So Gloria and I had an interesting conversation this week. I've been trying to think about a way to one, support town capacity in helping communicate what we're doing as a town in like an engaging way in this new age of social media and like how people consume information, while also being able to show off like the cool things that the town has. And so as one of my skills is like kind of in that marketing world, I am interested in thinking about how we as Board of Trustees members can shoot cute little videos of us showing off town assets and our programs. And be able to post it on our YouTube channel so that Gloria could then take it and like repurpose it for any social media. So we're not creating duplicate work for town staff, while also being able to talk about like all the awesome things we're doing. And so some of the things I was thinking about, I had fun brainstorming. These are things like services of the town, like notices, announcements. It's not necessarily like why we make decisions or like meeting overviews or political statements or opinions or anything like that. It's just a way to like show what we're doing. So thinking about like Silverton shorts, and as the town showers have just opened up, we get Jim in a rain jacket and he's standing underneath the shower.
I'm down.
Love it.
Shower. You know, with
Spots of trustee.
yeah, like have us kind of like being able to show what we're doing in town as hopefully we'll figure out the $20 for the water inspection, but what does your $20 buy you in town? Walking around town, does it get you this where we work with the Chamber of Commerce to say, you know, what can your $20 get you in town? I think there's great things we could do to land use. I was imagining putting like little stickers all over town and then be like, oh, no, this is not where they go. They go onto the poster boards downstairs. So just like fun, creative ways to get engagement. Thank you. This is what I do in my free time. That's kind of something I would like to start. I think I would obviously need support from like you all, because this would be like, I could help lead the project, but I would need like you all as the star of the show as well. And we could think of a lot of fun things. I think the goal would be, I mean, we could start once a month, and if it's going well, we could move it up to, you know, once a week or whatever it is, but just want to be able to get more information out there in a way that people actually consume information these days. Any thoughts?
Thoughts, questions, comments?
I think that's a great idea, Lindsay. I'd love to help promote some of the intramural sports weekly too.
Oh, yeah.
Wednesdays, you know.
Amy just wants more people to beat in basketball.
Give me a raincoat. I'll do it.
Tell me that would be funny.
I think it harkens back to when Sally was doing the trustee updates, right? And I know that was kind of a short way for people to get info, but it wasn't always like the way people got it. And so I think, to me, it strikes me that doing this consistently, where people kind of expect it to know that something kind of funny, catchy is coming, could be really useful. I like the tact that it's taking of really just more awareness raising, you know, we're not, obviously this isn't like a political statement. It's not a certain voting perspective. It's just kind of like, here's what's happening in the town. And I think any efforts that we can do to try to raise awareness of what people are getting, what is happening, helps to build kind of that trust and goodwill. And I think anything we can do to continue to build that trust with community members is great. So if you have the capacity, sign me up.
Great.
I'm all up for doing goofy things. I've told Danny Castle with KSGC a dunk tank. Bring me a dunk tank and I will,
Oh my God, I'm sure.
I would so do that. So,
Well, we're
Any
gonna
crazy
do some
thing?
sort of water management plan or something, you know? Yeah.
yeah, what happens when you flush in the town of Silverton? I mean, there's so many creative ways.
Go appreciates it.
I know, right? You better watch that. I'm gonna put you in lots of things.
That's why I moved.
Yeah. Handle deck, there's all kinds of things. Yeah,
Totally.
great.
We can keep them short, easy.
Does anybody have any concerns, worries? No, okay, staff, those, yeah.
No, my big thing was maybe having it, you know, in its own space, really.
Yeah.
So that's not coming from a personal email or a personal social media
Yep.
handle or anything like that.
So it's we were thinking about using YouTube Shorts. It's like the new, they're trying to be TikTok, you know, so it's like the way that they're organizing that. I know, it's a whole thing.
Jim's gonna have his own channel. It's gonna go viral, Jim. It is going to go.
I mean, does anyone
Alright.
follow,
You just didn't know. Hasn't gone viral yet.
I would recommend like, Department of Transport, Utah's Department of Transportation. Hilarious. And it's just, I think it's a way to engage the public that is not watching 2-hour-long meetings. As much as I do.
Love it.
Okay.
Great. Thanks. Puts together some schedules. Awesome. And Deanne is a great resource with video.
Oh, yeah.
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 Great. Okay, any other trustee updates? Time to bring your brilliant ideas.
I just want to thank Tyler for the work his crew did over the 4th of July holiday and what they did today as well. You guys do a great job. Thanks.
Yeah, super dedicated team, and without those guys and their skill and ability, well, we certainly wouldn't be able to do what we have been able to do. So big shout out to all the guys on our team, and then all the people that help, like the fire department, Light for Life, La Plata County Search and Rescue. So yeah, it takes a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of dedicated people. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thanks for being here, Tyler. All right. Moving on to continued business, 9A Historic Review Committee vacancy.
Promote Lucy to panelist, please.
Hello, can you guys all hear me?
We can, thanks, Lucy.
Great. So at our last meeting, we discussed the Historic Review Committee vacancy, and staff was directed to release a solicitation for applicants, and we received one application to be a member of the Historic Review Committee from Charles Lannis, who also goes by Alex Lannis. And his application is in the packet tonight. Staff has reviewed it and has found that he meets all the criteria. So we are recommending that you appoint him to be a Historic Review Committee member. But also just wanted to note that we had made the timeline so that the member would be appointed at this meeting so that they would be able to serve at the July Historic Review Committee meeting, which was scheduled for tomorrow. But we have no applications, so that meeting was canceled. So we do not have a meeting tomorrow. So we no longer are in a huge rush. But we do have this application in front of us that I think meets all the criteria. So that is staff's recommendation.
Thanks. Trustee discussion, questions for Lucy or staff or comments? It sounds like the general question up for debate is to approve what we have in front of us, or because we're not under such a tight time frame, go out for additional applications. There's pros and cons to both. Is anybody strongly advocating one way or another?
A question to board members who've been here longer. Do you think that giving more time would get more applications, or like has that happened in the past?
Tyler's shaking. Tyler's has.
Sometimes yes, mostly no.
Yeah, that's what I think. Okay.
I think we have a qualified applicant in front of us, and I am generally in favor of moving this board along, moving decisions along, and not delaying them for staff and board and community. So I would advocate for moving forward. So I could be persuaded otherwise.
Sure. Sure.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to appoint Charles Lannis to the Historic Review Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Roll call, please, Melina.
Trustee Halverson.
Yes.
Trustee Gardner.
Yes.
Trustee Schnittker.
Yes.
Trustee Wakefield.
Yes.
Trustee George.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harper.
Yes, absolutely.
Mayor Kringer.
Yes. Thank you, Lucy.
guys. Thank you.
Good night. Congratulations, Alex. Welcome to all the meetings. All right, moving on to 9B, Resolution 2024-15, a resolution setting a land use application meeting schedule and limiting the number of land use applications for the Board of Trustee meetings.
And this was discussed in the last board meeting as one of the options to help alleviate some of these crazy deadlines that we get in the planning department. And as you can see, we did exempt affordable housing applications. So affordable housing applications would be prioritized, thus meeting our commitment to Prop 123 as well, creating an expedited review process.
And we have that definition of affordable housing in the municipal code.
Yes.
Thank you. I was just trying to remember for 2C, land use applications placed on the consent agenda are not calculated in the maximum allowance. When does that happen?
I was trying to think of that too, but I wanted to leave that as an option.
Great. Lucy,
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Right now, in my time in Silverton, we've never had a land use application go onto the consent agenda. But in the future, we will, what's proposed in the land use code is to allow staff to administratively approve certain land use applications, and those will likely go on the consent agenda.
Yeah, yes, great, thank you. That's really helpful. Any trustee questions or comments on the resolution before us?
That was a really good clarification. Thank you.
I was thinking, I don't think that's ever happened that I've known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that again in the future.
Yeah.
All right, anybody want to read it?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-15. Resolution of the town of Silverton setting a land use application meeting schedule and limiting the number of land use applications for Board of Trustee meetings.
Second.
Thanks, Ron. All right, roll call please, Melina.
Trustee Halverson,
Yes.
trustee Gardner,
Yes.
trustee Schnitger,
Yes.
trustee Wakefield,
Yes.
trustee George,
Who said yes?
Sorry, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harper,
Yes.
Mayor Krieger.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, we're now on agenda item 10, public comment. We do not have anyone in the audience to make a public comment. If there's anybody on Zoom that would like to make a public comment, please click the raise hand button and you'll be promoted to panelist. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing no public comment on Zoom, we'll close public comment. And the time is now, well, and check your packets for all the upcoming meeting dates. The time is 8:13 and I adjourn this meeting. Bye, guys.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
All right.
Oh, wait, we got a letter of support.
What's that?